Great pleasure right now to welcome to the Book Talk segment of the show, man who's written another great thriller in his series called the Scion series. We're joined today by Dale Brown. He's a former U.S. Air Force captain and has written many best-selling military action and adventure novels, particularly dealing with aviation. And Dale Brown joined us by telephone. The name of the current book is called Price of Duty. And Dale, good to talk with you. How are you today?
Very nice to talk to you, too. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, congratulations on the success not only of all your books, but particularly this series, right? This has kind of taken a life of its own, hasn't it?
It sure has, yeah. I'm having a lot of fun exploring exactly what I'm going to do with Brad McClanahan. His father, Patrick McClanahan, started out as a fully formed character. He was there was no doubt that he was going to be the hero, and that Brad McClanahan is different. I started writing about him as a child, and now he's grown up, but he still hasn't decided exactly what he wants to do. He knows he wants to fly. He tried the military; that didn't work out so well. So he's kind of undecided about what's going to happen with him. So me and my readers, from the folks that give me a lot of feedback, we get to build Brad McClanahan's personality and his character over the next several books. So I'm having a lot of fun with that.
It's kind of interesting. You don't normally see you see a character that continues for several books, but it's kind of unusual to have the son of a character kind of continue. That's a bit of a unique twist, isn't it?
I'm having a great time with it. I don't know exactly how many other authors have done that, but I want to bring on the entire McClanahan family and see what I can do with that series. It's a lot of fun doing it. It's a lot of his character and his personality has changed despite my best efforts. So sometimes I don't know what Brad McClanahan's going to do in the next book. He really does develop his own personality, his own dialogue, everything else. So he kind of surprises me every now and then.
Well, let's talk about the story in this book, and it's a great story, also kind of timely too, although it's fiction, but it's kind of based on what's going on in the world, and it has to deal with a Russian president. It's not named Putin, but something similar, I guess. Grizlov, I believe, is how you pronounce it, right? And he has this weapon where he wipes out almost the entire Polish economy with cyber attack. Kind of fascinating.
Right. Yeah, Grizlov tried to take on Poland, tried to take on NATO in the previous novel, Iron Wolf, and he realized that he can't stand up to even the small force that was represented by Scion International. He tried to take them on and wasn't able to defeat him, and he realizes that he can't get what he wants without starting a World War III unless he goes a different route. And the route he takes is cyber warfare. And he realizes that he has a great advantage doing that. So I want to describe what I think a all-out continent-sized cyber warfare would look like. And I think that Russia and China and other countries are actively pursuing that. And I also want to get the word out that the United States had better be doing the same thing.
It's fascinating, but also a little scary, because like you said, it's based on what's going on in the world. Maybe, hopefully not to the extent that can be done, wiping out a whole economy that quickly, but I guess it's not that far off.
Well, I don't think so at all. The technology that I described in Price of Duty, I started writing the book about a year and a half ago, and I'm sure the technology has increased even more than I can imagine. So it's the United States. This is something the United States has to invest in. We have to educate the next generation and try to develop countermeasures to what the enemy might be producing, and then discover what the next generation of technologies will look like and start to exploit those. So I think we've been underinvesting in the military and underinvesting in cyber, and I think we need to catch up very quickly.
Back to the story, and again, I don't like to give out away too much, so I'll just kind of ask a general question. But Brad McClanahan, of course, the lead character and hero of the story, and the Scion group, they somehow have to infiltrate and figure out how to stop Grizlov, right? Don't give away too much, but that's what he does, right?
Right. Grizlov he's built an underground complex where he's based his cyber warfare units in, and it's deep inside the Ural Mountains. It's an actual military base. They use sort of mountain warfare training center where he's built his cyber complex, and they have to figure out how to get into it, not just in a cyber realm, but they realize they have to take out the entire complex, and that's where Scion and the other characters, the Alliance of Free Nations, start to direct their forces.
But when you write a book like this, like you said, you started about a year and a half ago, and technology, like you said, is changing so rapidly. Do you kind of add a little imagination to the technology, or do you have to kind of be specific? Because I know your readers, they're sticklers, some of them, aren't they?
They sure are. Yeah, they don't want me to cross over into the science fiction realm, so I might be a little bit behind in the technology. I'm always doing research and I'm always doing interviews, but I don't want to cross over too much into the science fiction realm. I know that folks believe that my weapon systems like the cybernetic infantry device might be science fiction-y, but it really isn't. They've been developing things like that for a long time. So I don't want to get too far ahead, but when we start talking about cyber warfare, people think that's science fiction all just from the very beginning, and then we see something like the ransomware attacks and the attack against the medical systems in Europe, and people seem surprised that things like that are going on. Well, if they read into the news and they read into to research and things like that, they'll find out that this technology has existed, and it's just now hitting the news. Getting
back to the current reality out there with Putin and Russia and all that, and the United States, what do you make of what's going on? Is it something that we have to worry about, or is he a guy that you think Trump can handle, or what do you think?
Well, it's definitely something we have to worry about. You look at what Russia is doing in the Middle East. They've always had a presence in the Middle East, but now they've actually got boots on the ground. They've got fighters and bombers based in the Middle East. The United States really hasn't responded to that, or if we have, it's been very muted. They've been trying to push against the former Soviet states. They'd love to have the Baltic states back, and our response has been rather muted. We've sent a couple fighter squadrons into the Baltic states and into Poland and Romania, places like that, but we really haven't stood up to Putin and what we think he wants to do. So we need to reverse that. We need to start rebuilding the military where we can have the ability to deploy the military to different parts of the world, not just the Middle East, but to the Pacific region, to Northern Europe if we need to. Do we need to have that flexibility? And right now we really don't. The Marine Corps, the news reports say that the Marine Corps can only fly 50% of their aircraft, and that's ridiculous. Yeah. That's something we've seen in the old Soviet Union back in the 80s and 90s, and we just can't allow that to happen.
Yeah, scary when you think of that aspect of it, but it almost makes you want to think about the good old days of the 70s when Brezhnev and we sort of knew what they were doing more than we're doing now, right?
Well, but, I mean, we've seen the Cold War come back. I started writing books when the Russians were flying Bear bombers near NATO to try to have NATO launch fighters to chase them, and they were probing, and they're flying over or flying near Alaska and flying near Guam and the Philippines and places like that. Well, we're seeing the very same thing happen now. And now we're seeing China doing the same thing. China flying upside down over reconnaissance planes and things like that. It looks very much like the Cold War. And if we're not careful, we could be right back in the situation where we don't have an overwhelming advantage anymore. Where Russia and then even China has we're almost equal together again. So we don't want that to happen. And unfortunately, that's going to take a lot of money investment and a lot of political investment in order to rebuild the military the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, we want to again remind the folks this is an entertainment novel, so we want to let the people out there a good summer read called Price of Duty. We've been talking with Dale Brown today. Great thriller, cyber story. And Dale, do you have a website you can direct people to get more information about the book?
Oh, you bet. I'm at airbattleforce.com, and of course I'm always on Facebook and Twitter as well. Love to continue the conversation and love to see you online.
Great. And Dale is based out in Lake Tahoe, Nevada, a beautiful part of the country. I'll be heading out to a little bit south of you, or I guess east of you in Vegas later next month. But always great to go out there, and hopefully we can talk to you again. Thanks for being with us.
I'd love to. Love to do it, and thanks for having me on the show.
I'm Stan Brock. 30 years ago, I formed Remote Area Medical to help people overseas. But then we found generations of families in America isolated by poverty from the health care they need. Together, we can take dental, vision, and medical help to 1 million adults and their kids, right here at home in the United States of America.
If you'd like to order the book we're talking about, please go to DougMilesMedia.com and enter the author's name in the Amazon search box. Thank you for listening. Please come back soon for more conversations here at DougMilesMedia.com. This has been a presentation of Doug Miles Media, all rights reserved. You can listen to or download previous programs at iTunes, Stitcher.com, or DougMilesMedia.com.